So we were talking earlier about the needs of a CTO, myself and Matthew, having sort of spoken to CTOs as being one of the main stakeholders in the clients we speak to, clients and prospects, and about some of the fears that they have and some of the risks that they see and some of the control they want to have over that process. And I guess for CEOs, it's a different thing. A CEO's got a different agenda. So can you tell us a bit about, your experiences of working with CEOs and what it is they want out of a digital transformation project, the things they care about, the things they don't want to happen, the level of detail they want, and some of those kind of things?
Yeah, so I think with business leaders, it's something I've been kind of relating to way more as Clear Sky's gone on, because I think both of us came out of being IT leaders, so CTO is more like our kind of soft form area. But as we're growing, we kind of relate more to CEOs and managing directors and boards, and I think that's all to do with the ambitious side of being in a business. So I don't think there's many business leaders that aren't ambitious about their company, or they wouldn't be the leader. So what happens is that a business will have these ambitions of growing by 10x and within a number of years, and what normally happens is at the business leadership level, they'll pile in lots of money and think that's going to get them where they want to go, and a lot of the times it doesn't. So when we get involved with a CEO, it's normally a case of they love their business, they know it through and through, they think it could be even bigger than it currently is, but why is it getting held back? And so for them, it's almost like the ambition, the frustration to either have a bad view of their current IT team or their current third party, or been burned previously, and it's almost we come in and we're starting to talk about, why did it get like that? Talk us through it. What annoyed you about the situation? What was the result? And then work with them and find out how you match the business objectives versus the kind of tech roadmap. Which CEO, MD doesn't have business objectives? None. They'll all have their business objectives, but what they won't have a lot of the time is a tech roadmap to help them meet those objectives. Like how many times in the past have we saw like a CEO go really heavy into one project and think that I'll solve everything for them and they won't need to worry about tech again, when in reality it's just like one piece of the puzzle. So yeah, it's more about that kind of longer term roadmap, but getting them where they want to go.
Yeah, and you often see CEOs who are scared of making technical decisions because they've made them in the past. They maybe outsourced technology in the past, and they've worked with suppliers who've been less than successful and haven't delivered what the business actually needs. And it could be that those failures have been because the business maybe wasn't able to articulate what they needed, or it could be that the supplier themselves failed in delivering what they've been asked to deliver. And there's sort of a gap there around talking to those business stakeholders around what it is that actually would help their business to move to the next level, and in what order. We talk a lot about MVPs, minimal viable products, of getting features and products just out of the door and working, and getting them used by the end user, and sort of iterating through that process of creating something that becomes the thing you want and moves you and your business towards where you want to get to in a short period of time, and allows you to change your mind as well and get feedback and say, well, actually, do we want to do this? Maybe the world changes, maybe your users change, your business wants to pivot. And if you've got technology that can do that as quickly as you can make decisions, then it puts you in a really, really, really good place. And sometimes if you've got a team that's working on a big strategic piece of work, and then your strategy actually changes during that time, are they able to pivot and change alongside your business? Because as we all know, things come along and blindside you. Last year with COVID, businesses have failed, businesses have thrived based on their ability to pivot. And in certain sectors have done, there's been decimation of retail in the last year or so, of those companies who didn't pivot, and huge successes for those who have and have embraced digital transformation.
And that need to pivot in business is also in the tech side of things as well, because as a CEO owner, you want to go in and say, right, how much is it and what I'm getting and how long is it going to take, right? But that's actually against really that agile nature of getting the tech right, because you have to be able to make decisions on a daily level around what gets in a product, what doesn't get in a product, and why. But if you're having to But if you have a kind of leadership team which doesn't trust tech already, and then you're saying, trust us even more, there's not a fixed price for this. You just need to trust us that we're going to adapt and do the right things at the right time. It can be a really difficult, a difficult way to get leadership to work, and it's kind of odds about what they're kind of used to. But if they can embrace that way of working, then you can move much, much faster. And really in business, you move faster, you beat your competition. And one thing CEOs and MDs will know is that what is their competition doing? What are their peers doing? Do they look good compared to that? Are they falling behind again? So yeah, it's kind of like across two different levels there of like the trust. They need to move quickly. And normally they can't trust because it's went so badly in the past.
So how do we get past that trust? It's not an easy one, but I think that the things we've seen to try and overcome that starting point of mistrust or a desire to not be burned again, a reluctance to trust IT suppliers. What we do is to work on short timescales. So we'll do this by this point in time. We'll deliver something in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I think working through that process helps to build that trust, and we actually will generate something which has tangible value in a short period of time. So you're really bringing that trust, almost like a test of trust, right down to an initial piece of work. Because there has to be some kind of trust to work with any supplier, because you're effectively saying, yes, I want to work with you, we're going to work with you for a period of time, and we haven't yet seen what we're going to be receiving in terms of the output. We're agreeing on what it should be, but we don't yet know whether you're going to be able to do it or not. So there's an element of doubt. So if we can make that, turn that in from a very long deliverable, a huge piece of work, right down to something which has tangible value in a short period of time. We've seen that trust with some of our clients who've been burned in the past, now have huge trust in our ability to deliver alongside their business with really capable people, with great feedback to them, and then are happy to work with us on much longer term projects because they know that we'll do what we say we're going to do.
It's almost like it's kind of grown over time. Like trust isn't like an absolute thing. It's not like a yes or a no. It's like, okay, well, at least trust us to get this 8-week project in. And okay, we're at the end of the 8 weeks, everyone's really happy, or maybe it was a bit rough to begin with because our ways of working weren't quite a match. But at the end of the 8 weeks, we delivered what we said we would, and it's having a really good impact on your business. And then building on that, what's the next trust? Maybe it's a bit of a longer project and building up over time. But you're right, though, the clients that have been with us the longest, we're kind of way past those early days, and now it's just okay, we trust that we're helping them get to where they want to go, and so they can even move faster than what they did at the beginning because there's not so much kind of oversight. And is this the right decision? Pondering it for months, it's more like, okay, like where we're trying to get to business wise, help us get there through the tech side of things.
Yeah, things don't always go right, do they? Things sometimes go wrong. And I think part of the sort of true character of any supplier is that responding well when things go wrong. I mean, we're not talking about catastrophes here, but we're talking about things that might be less than ideal. And I think, whenever we're guilty of, things not going exactly as they should have gone, then we'll put them right, and we'll make sure that we demonstrate that we really care about the outcome of what we do. And if we've made a mistake, we'll hold our hands up to it, and we'll make sure it doesn't happen again. I think that's almost like if you go through those processes, sometimes you think about it with friends, people if you go through things that are difficult together, then it makes your kind of bond stronger. You trust them more because you've seen how they respond in a difficult time. And I think, maybe things don't necessarily need to go wrong for that, but they need to be difficult before they get easy. And I think that we show really good character in a lot of our clients' engagements by showing that when things are difficult, we'll come good and make sure they get a good result out of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The best relationship isn't one that never has problems, right? Like, there'll always be problems. If there's not problems, they're maybe not pushing hard enough, or maybe it's kind of taking things too easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've seen kind of time and time again, if things do start going off track, then it's a bit of like a retrospective. Okay, what are we doing that we should stop doing, and what aren't we doing we need to do? And yeah, we see that being really successful. What's the other things we do? Being transparent, communicating really well. It's huge. I think there's an interesting thing that comes up. Obviously, technology can be kind of quite expensive because of the quality of the people that are involved in it. So depending on who in the organisation we're as our main contact, we might get to an invoicing stage, and invoices can be kind of on the large side compared to compared to the office stationery, for example, and it can flag a lot of questions internally. What is this for, etc. So we try and make the process a bit easier as well, communicate really effectively, and have credible reports on what was delivered exactly when, so it can just be shared and make that kind of transparency across what we do and what the client does as well.
An invoice is created, and if there's a clear communication with what that represents, and also a clear plan of what the next sprint or billing period represents as well, it makes these things much easier, because clearly it isn't cheap to create good software. You can try cutting corners, but ultimately you probably get what you pay for. And we're not a cheap company to work with. We're not trying to undercut everybody. We employ people who are highly talented, and they can go and work anywhere. They have lots of opportunities to go and work in different companies. They choose to work for us, and part of that is paying them a good salary. So we charge a good rate for the work we do, but the work we do, people hang their business off that, and it can pay huge dividends if we do that work properly, and it's defined along those business objectives that you mentioned.
Yeah, and the difference we can make to a business, that the upside for the business is massive. We might be kind of well paid in Clear Sky, but the difference to the business could be tens of millions, hundreds of millions if they can get in front of the competition as well. So I think that's something we really understand, that CEOs understand as well. It's all about the kind of speed of things. It's not how cheaply you can get something done, it's how quickly and how good a quality can you get it done. And that's why I think of our teams as, it's more like teams of athletes, right? Because of like a baton race. Like everyone has already ran together and knows how to do changeovers really quickly so that they can finish the race first. But if you went out as a CEO and said, right, hire me, four devs and a designer off the street, and we're going to build an award-winning platform. It's such a madness, right? Like it'll take them years or way longer to do it, and then even if those are the right people. So for the CEO, ambitious type of person, company, like we're the right choice, because we are about that speed and quality, and we've done it before, and we can do it again, and we've got really good examples to show them. And I think that all that really speaks to the CEO more than anyone.
Yeah, and we've seen that go really badly wrong in lots of organisations where CEOs and non-technical stakeholders have tried to recruit internally to resolve development problems, and it's just been unsuccessful in every example I can think of, where you have individuals who are probably quite capable but are unmanaged, unvetted really, because they've been recruited by someone non-technical. And they've effectively created lots of little projects that have been almost sort of hobbyist, and they've created something which is, there's no consistent approach, only that person understands it, so there's no shared knowledge, it's not a team. You could bring in 2 or 3 of those types of people and they'll end up working on their own thing, their own little bit, and there's no cohesion at all, and it's a huge risk for businesses, because they will end up, that person will leave, and then there's no one who understands what they've done, no documentation, and it's it can be catastrophic for businesses like that.
And in exact contrast to what we were talking about earlier around that tech roadmap, if a business has got an objective, they wouldn't go and hire a business person and just to make an objective, and that's great, right? But what you'll see in that situation is the person that makes decisions internally in the company will bring in those developers, and they'll build like one part of the roadmap without any knowledge into what the future parts of the roadmap are. So you'll end up with this kind of patchwork of different IT projects that have different views of whether they're successful or not, but your business objectives are still way up here and your roadmap's like somewhere meandering down here. And it's never for the long term. So it's pretty catastrophic when you get into a company like that. And it could be like larger companies as well, where it's just they've continued that, but the business objectives have got even more lofty, and now they're building on some severely weak foundations.
I think one of the differences for us as well is that we're really clear to people who come and join us, come and work for us, is that we don't use tech for tech's sake. We're not about gadgets. We're not about just using the new technology and the shiny things. If you want to do that, go work somewhere else. We'll do it on the weekend. We use software as tools, like a craftsperson uses a tool to create something. And so we create software that people hang their businesses on. They depend on our software. It's hugely important that it works, that it's robust, that it's tested, and that it does what the client wants it to do, and that it's supportable by by multiple people, that it's created in a way that can be picked up by someone else who comes and joins the team. So there are sort of standards that we use, there are approaches that we use, which, you know, we know, and we know that internally, but we can say to a CEO that we're writing software with an approach that we can build up a team here. We have built up a team, we can add to that team, we can move different skill sets in and out of the team that work on your projects. And there are things that are done in certain ways in our company that we've proven elsewhere. And so there's, you know, we're mitigating risk in that respect. And we're demonstrating that we create software that people use, you know, all day, every day to run their businesses and transact, you know, multi-million pound businesses through. And so there's a big difference between people who do that and think about technology as a tool, rather than people who think of technology as being a gadget, that something is always changing. I think that's something that we've done really well by focusing people who work for Clear Sky, you know, in that particular regard.
Yeah, well, it's one of our core values. You know, simplicity, not just in the way we kind of communicate, but also in our solutions. That I think I say this to a few developers at the start, like, not every solution has to be Netflix. You know, if a 2-week project could build something that could give you the value to the business of like 10x what that cost, then that's fine, and that'll solve all, like, you know, a lot of the business's issues. They don't need this over-architected monstrosity that's difficult to adapt and evolve over time. So but time and time again, we kind of run into legacy stuff that's a bit like that, and you end up going into it and being like, why is a self-serve portal trying to direct people to make complaints? Like, you know, as a self-serve portal, I'd be looking to pay a bill. Or change a package or something like that. But yeah, so there's stuff like that can just happen. It turns into a monster.
And if you think about Netflix, they wouldn't be where they are if they'd have started off with that technology platform. You know, I guarantee you that Netflix's first platform was something pretty simple, and it works.
There's envelopes.
Yeah. Now that, you know, scanning envelopes and sending out DVDs.
Yeah.
But the platform that they would have built would have been, you know, fairly ugly, rudimentary. It would have worked, and it was just done quickly, and it supported the business, and it would have been iterated, and ultimately there would have been version 2 that would have replaced version 1. There was a complete pivot around how they transacted their business, and now they're kind of the poster child of the microservices, you know, approach to writing software. And as you say, people aspire to that almost unreasonably because they want to experience that sort of complexity. But it's not a pragmatic way of creating software. And if you want to get value out of the door quickly and get your business to transact, you know, a new feature, and, you know, put money through it and see if it works, see if it sticks, and then to iterate through it, you know, it's not the way to go, because you'll end up spending way too much money on it, only to find out perhaps it doesn't work or it isn't quite right.
Yeah.